help us all. If you fail to prove us wrong, God help.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our cover story tonight on Gravitas is about something that is going to happen next year, and it is dominating headlines today. In February next year, Prime Minister Modi will be inaugurating a temple in the UAE. On Gravitas tonight, we tell you how the temple is an architectural wonder. It will be the UAE's first traditional hand-carved Hindu temple. We will tell you all that you need to know about the temple and why this will be an extraordinary moment. Also on the show for you tonight, we tell you how the wars have now reached space. We tell you how the race to space is heating up and the heating rivalry between the US and China to outdo the other. We also tell you all that you need to know about Russia's year-end offensive and how yet another case of a mysterious death in Russia is making news. An extraordinary story of a man who hid in a plane's landing gear. It's a desperate journey. We tell you all that you need to know about the way in which this man traveled. Nepal's latest crash is once again making headlines. We tell you about the most dangerous skies in the world. Our cover story is from the UAE. Next month, it will be holding a landmark event, the inauguration of a Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. The inauguration ceremony will be taking place in February. And guess who will be the chief guest? The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. On the 14th of February, he is scheduled to attend a dedication ceremony at the temple. After 7 deities get consecrated and blessed in special morning prayers. This is according to the Swaminarayan Sanstha, the organization building the temple. And what exactly will the temple be like? Well, it will be the UAE's first traditional hand-carved Hindu temple. It will be located in Abu Dhabi's Morekha area of the main motorway between Dubai and the country's capital. The temple will open to the public on the 18th of February. It can hold between 8,000 to 10,000 people at any given time. The doors of the temple will be open for traditional wedding ceremonies for Hindu couples as well as celebrations of festivities for people of all faiths. The 14th of February was selected for the landmark deity consecration ceremony as it falls on Vasant Panchami, a day auspicious for Hindus that signifies the start of the spring season. The temple is also an architectural wonder. It will feature spectacular sculptures set in pink sandstone and white marble. More than 2,000 artisans in India's Rajasthan and Gujarat states have carved 402 pillars over the past 3 years. A single pillar can take 4 artisans at least a year to complete due to the level of detail. No pillar is the same, with stories from Indian scriptures. There are also 1,000 statues representing deities and spiritual gurus molded into columns and ceilings. Exquisite sculptures capturing peacocks, elephants, horses, camels, the phases of the moon, and musicians beating the drum or playing the sitar, adhering to the practice of ancient shrines. The construction has not used iron or steel reinforcements. The temple complex is bordered by buildings that house prayer halls, a community center, a library, children's park, and an amphitheater. A sand dune is being replicated inside the compound, and people will enter this to reach the visitor center. The traditional temple is being viewed as a symbol of harmony and an example of the tolerance of the UAE. The temple also has 2 streams of water that symbolically represent the Ganga and Yamuna rivers. A beam of light to represent the river Saraswati will be placed under the temple structure. Now, here's the thing. This is not the first temple of its kind. A smaller temple opened last year in Dubai's Jebel Ali area. The UAE is also home to over 40 churches, a Sikh Gurudwara, and 2 small Hindu shrines tucked inside the Bur Dubai area. As for the temple opening, Prime Minister Modi had also launched the project in 2018. This is when he had revealed the first model showing a monument with 7 spires to reflect the Emirates. 5 years later, he will be inaugurating the temple. This is what the temple's project director told a local newspaper in the UAE. Let me quote, "On February 14 morning, there will be the Murti Pratishtha, or invocation of the idols, and in the evening we will have a public dedication ceremony in the presence of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It is truly overwhelming for us to see the final phase, the final stretch of work being completed." And as the UAE prepares to launch this temple, back in India, preparations are also underway for the inauguration of the grand Ram Janmabhoomi temple in Ayodhya. It is set to be inaugurated in January next year. And ahead of that big day, a voting process is underway to decide the idol of Lord Ram Lalla. The decision will mark a crucial step in the construction of the temple. And during the voting, 3 distinct designs crafted by separate sculptors will be presented. The idol receiving the highest number of votes will be installed inside the Sanctum Sanctorum during the consecration ceremony. The results of the voting will be out anytime soon. Moving on for now, wars are no more limited to planet Earth. They have reached space. Elon Musk's Starlink satellites made that clear in the Ukraine war, and now they have a competitor. That's right, China is set to launch its own satellite network. So how exactly would it work? What exactly are the capabilities? And which areas would it cover? Just how much of a threat is it to Starlink? Let's break it all down for you. It is China's first high-orbit satellite communication network. It is a brainchild of the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. The network includes high-throughput satellites. These satellites are used for secure communication. They provide higher data capacity and cover a wider area. The latest network includes the likes of ChinaSat 16, 19, and 26. What would this network do exactly? Basically, provide fast and secure internet services. And just how fast are we talking about? Up to 500 gigabytes per second. China aims to meet this target by the year 2025. And how exactly would China use this internet service? For aviation, for navigation, for emergency services, and energy. But where exactly would it be used? What is the area it would cover? Let me tell you, the satellite is not only for China. It would also cover Russia, Southeast Asia, Mongolia, India, as well as the Indian and Pacific Oceans. You see, the satellite network is Beijing's strategy to boost connectivity with its BRI partners. It's not keeping the services to itself. It would commercialize them. This is what could threaten Starlink's monopoly. Speaking of which, how do the two networks really compare? Musk's Starlink has a low-orbit constellation. The Chinese network, on the other hand, has high-orbit satellites. It can provide more coverage than Starlink in far fewer satellites. It also provides a more stable connection. The Starlink satellites are more suitable for regional enhancement. The Chinese network offers better overall coverage. You see, China is gearing up to challenge America in space. And it's not just about satellites. 2 weeks ago, China launched a robot space plane as well. It is known as the Shenlong or Divine Dragon. It is the space plane's third mission to orbit in as many years. As China takes these strides, the US is obviously not going to sit around and just watch. The American military has launched a mission of its own. Its secretive X-37B robot space plane has blasted off from Florida. This is its 7th mission, but the first one atop a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket. Now, this time around, the space plane will be delivered in a higher orbit than before. And what do we know about it? Very little, actually. The Pentagon has not disclosed much. For starters, the space plane looks like a mini space shuttle. It carries classified experiments. As for the mission, this is what American authorities said in a statement last month. The space plane would involve tests of new orbital regimes, experimenting with future space domain awareness technologies. Now, make of it what you can. The X-37B is also carrying a NASA experiment. It would study how plant seeds are affected by prolonged exposure to space radiation. This would help the scientists know more about crop cultivation in space. And how long is X-37B going to stay in space is the question. The planned duration has not been made public, but reports say it will run till at least June 2026. You see, the space race is getting intense, just to say the least. And India is also neck and neck with the US and China. In the next 5 years, it plans to launch 50 satellites and create a layer in different orbits. And what exactly would these satellites do? Gather intelligence, track the movement of troops, and image thousands of kilometers of area. We are talking about entire borders in everyday cycles here. If India is able to achieve that, it would take national security to the next level. Meanwhile, India's solar mission Aditya L1 is also making steady progress. All its payloads are working beautifully and are sending promising data. In almost a week from now, it will reach its Lagrange point. This is a region where gravity between Earth and Sun will neutralize, and this essentially will allow the spacecraft to view the Sun without any eclipses. This means its observation of the Sun will not be hindered anymore. You see, India, China, the US all have projects lined up. The competition is only heating up. Who is going to win the space race is the question. Meanwhile, China is trying to open the Hell's Gate. You heard that right. China is trying to do something that is, one, uncalled for, and two, can start a domino effect that can end up in disaster. Case in point, Meng Xiang. You remember this name? Meng Xiang is the name of a Chinese ship, and it's no ordinary vessel. Meng Xiang has been tasked with drilling through the Earth's crust. You heard that right. Drilling through the Earth's crust. That's what China wants to do. At least it hopes to and dreams to do that. Meng Xiang is Mandarin for dream. And what exactly do we know about the ship? It is 179 meters long, around 33 meters wide. The ship is capable of carrying cargo weighing up to 33,000 tons. The vessel has been designed to withstand strong tropical cyclones. But what really stands out about the ship is its drilling power. It is reportedly best in class. The drill can reach 11,000 meters below the sea surface, meaning it is capable of drilling beyond the Earth's crust, penetrating into the mantle. A time for some quick geography here. This is the Earth. There's the core. It is 2,300 kilometer layer of liquid. It is made up of lead and uranium. The mantle comes next. It makes up 84% of the Earth's volume, and it is predominantly solid. And then you have the crust. That is the Earth's outermost layer, but it makes up only 1% of the Earth's volume. So far, all of our scientific explorations have been limited to the crust, and China aims to change that. It wants to drill into the mantle. The obvious question is why? Chinese scientists say they want to study tectonic plates. They want to study oceanic crust evolution, ancient ocean climates, and seabed resources. Now that seabed resources is what you need to pay attention to. No one really knows for sure what lies under the Earth's surface. Is there life? Are there organisms, sources of energy perhaps? If so, China wants to be the first to tap into that resource. Some of you are thinking, how is it that no other country has thought of that before? You know, exploring the mantle. Actually, they have. As early as 1961, geologists began drilling a hole into the seabed of the Pacific Ocean. These geologists wanted to punch through the Earth's crust and reach the mantle, but they could not make it. These were American geologists. Their then president, John F. Kennedy, was more interested in reaching the moon, and he invested in the Apollo missions. The mission mantle faced budget cuts. Also, it is a fact that the endless drilling did not lead these scientists anywhere. Researchers do have samples of the mantle. A lot of them are materials from erupting volcanoes. They are not pristine, and which is why China is trying to drill to a layer from where it can extract the chunk of the mantle, unsullied chunk of the mantle. Which brings us to our next question. How risky is this mission? There is a reason the layer separating the crust and the mantle, known as moho, or the Moravic discontinuity, is often called the Hell's Gate. And that's because no one knows what awaits them under that surface. When China pierces through the mantle, will lava spray out like a volcanic eruption? Will the ocean floor be covered in volcanic rocks? Will large sci-fi creatures come along with? Scientists say nothing of that kind will happen. What will happen, though, is China will try to dominate not just the space, but also the Earth's mantle. Our next story is from Canada. 48 hours back, there was an attack in Surrey in the Canadian province of British Columbia. What exactly happened there? Reports say as many as 14 gunshots were fired at the residence of the son of a Hindu temple president. In the wake of this shocking incident, Canadian authorities are currently investigating the matter. And so far, media reports from Canada only mention the efforts being made in the probe. They say investigators have not yet identified any suspect involved in the incident. Here's what we know so far about the probe. The incident took place on the 27th of December at around 8:03 a.m. local time. The house belonged to the son of Satish Kumar, who is the president of the Lakshmi Narayan temple in Surrey. The man whose house was attacked is a prominent Hindu businessman. Immediately after the attack, the Surrey Royal Canadian Mounted Police responded to reports of shots being fired. And according to a police statement, no one was injured during the incident. However, the residents sustained significant damage consistent with bullet holes. The police has requested anyone with more information about the incident, including dashcam footage, to get in contact with them. Now, here's what a police statement about the incident says. Let me quote. Police remained in the area, examining the scene, speaking with witnesses and canvassing the neighborhood for CCTV footage. The Surrey RCMP General Investigation Unit has conduct of the investigation. Officers are still working to determine the motive of this incident. Now, here's the thing. This attack comes in the backdrop of a growing diplomatic row between India and Canada, a row that was triggered after the Canadian Prime Minister made some unsubstantiated claims over the killing of a Khalistani terrorist. Immediately after these claims were made, attacks linked to Khalistani terror have grown in Canada. Let me just share a few incidents here. In August this year, Lakshmi Narayan Mandir in Surrey, one of the biggest and oldest temples in Canada, was vandalized and defaced with Khalistan referendum posters over the weekend. In April, the Swaminarayan Temple in Canada's Ontario was vandalized. In February, the Ram Temple in Canada's Mississauga was targeted. And before that, in January, a temple in Brampton was defaced with anti-India graffiti. These defacements have included graffiti targeting the Indian Prime Minister and support for the Khalistan movement. What's worse, in Canada, some posters used by the Khalistanis carry pictures of Indian diplomats. In one instance, the posters displayed the photographs of the Indian High Commissioner, Sanjay Kumar Verma, and Consul General in Toronto, Apurva Srivastava. The poster called them killers of a Khalistani extremist who recently died. Now, for a second, let's just switch the roles here. Imagine if the British High Commission or the American Embassy or a Canadian consulate got attacked in India, or posters were put up of Canadian diplomats calling them killers, or houses of Canadian expats were attacked in India. How do you think these countries would have responded? They would have issued sermons to India, perhaps told its citizens to not travel to the country. What is India doing? India is cordially requesting these countries to ensure that such attacks don't happen. Yet, there has been no improvement. Why is that? Why is that? Is it because Canada wants such incidents to take place? Does it want anti-India sentiments to stay alive? I mean, these attacks make one wonder if there are vested interests behind them. If Canada is deliberately trying to keep the Khalistan bogey alive, and if it is, then it is playing a dangerous game. Have a look at this 2020 report by Canada's Macdonald-Laurier Institute. It called the Khalistan movement a geopolitical project by Pakistan, which threatens the national security of Canadians as well as Indians. Only if Justin Trudeau could see beyond his vote bank politics, and only if his friends in the West could do the same. Let's now shift our focus to the war in Ukraine. As the year comes to an end, Russia is attacking Ukraine with renewed vigor. It's almost like it's grinding to meet its annual target. In the last 24 hours, Russia has fired a record number of missiles, 158 to be specific. At least 18 civilians have been killed, more than 130 have been wounded. At least 6 major Ukrainian cities have come under attack. Let me just take you through them one by one. Starting with Kiev, residents woke up to one of the deadliest attacks in months. 2 have been confirmed dead in the capital. You can see the visuals on your screen. Projectiles were exploding in the sky. Air raid sirens were wailing. Smoke rose from residential buildings. Warehouses were ablaze. In Dnipro, at least 6 people have died. Missiles rained down on a maternity hospital. A residential building and a shopping center were also hit. Soon fires broke out, streets were flooded with debris, buildings stood with their windows blown out. A resident named Irina stood in her balcony. She watched the horror unfold in front of her eyes. Here's what she had to say.
Maybe around 7 in the morning, I can't say for sure. Because I didn't check my watch, I stood on the balcony and heard pew 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 sounds, like a stopwatch. And then a very loud explosion. I rushed away from the window. The windows were shaking. Good they were open.
In the Black Sea port city of Odessa, at least 3 have lost their lives. 15 have been injured.
I felt the whole building moving. We live on the 5th floor. I understood that something horrible just happened. The building moved a lot. I woke the children up and we started to get dressed. We went down to the parking. Broken glass, bricks and doors were scattered around. People ran with children, bags and pets. There were many people in the parking, all of them shocked.
In Lviv, 1 has been killed, more than a dozen have been injured, 3 schools and a nursery have been damaged. So has a residential building. Local resident Areka Seponiok's window glass shattered after an explosion wave. Her children have been frightened naturally by the attack. Listen in to her ordeal.
Вікна немає, все шибку тупо вибило, скрізь скло, діти, це дуже великий шок. Ми вибігли всі бігом в коридор, тому що укриття як такого немає, укриття лише в школі, в яку попало. Це, дуже страшно було.
And similar scenes were seen in Zaporizhia as well. A Russian attack destroyed a house and damaged several apartment blocks. These 6 have been killed. Rescue workers sifted through the rubble to look for the survivors.
I was inside my house when an explosion rang. Thank God our house wasn't hit by it, but here it got hit strong. Yes, a woman died here. I don't know whether her son was at home. Maybe he was at work, and here lived another woman with her child, a grown-up man that is. We don't know whether they were at home or not.
At least 6 blasts rocked Kharkiv, killing 3 and injuring 13. An industrial building was on fire. Firefighters tackled the blaze as civilians rushed to the shelters. The Ukrainian authorities also released this clip. It shows a man trapped under rubble after a Russian rocket hit a building. Emergency workers used mechanical cutting tools to save his life. For weeks now, Ukraine has been warning that Russia could be stockpiling missiles to launch a major air attack. Last winter was a dark one, quite literally so. As Russian strikes pounded the power grid, millions of Ukrainians plunged into darkness. This time around, Russia has attacked with everything it had in its arsenal. And it's not just Ukraine, it seems, that was on target. Something mysterious happened within Russia as well. A Russian lawmaker and an old ally of President Putin was found dead. His name was Vladimir Igorov. He was at his home in the town of Tobolsk. So what really happened? Russian media saying that he fell from the 3rd floor of his home. In the year 2016, Egorov was forced out of the city administration. This was after a corruption scandal, but he was not convicted for it. He then returned to the political fray. Egorov soon became one of the wealthiest local deputies of Tobolsk. So what went wrong? Did he cross someone he should not have? Reports say he plunged 30 feet to his death. They also say he suffered heart problems. The story sounds all too familiar, doesn't it? A Taiwanese study has linked a popular anxiety and insomnia medication to miscarriage. The study found a 4.4% miscarriage rate linked to the medication. Our next report getting you the details.
Is your anxiety medication pregnancy safe? Listen closely. The National Taiwan University analyzed over 3 million pregnancies between 2004 and 2018. It found a 4.4 miscarriage rate linked to benzodiazepine use. What are benzodiazepines, you ask? As per a Cleveland clinic, benzodiazepine is a class of medication that slows down activity in the brain and nervous system. These medicines are mostly prescribed to patients battling anxiety and other mental health conditions. Some of the most well-known benzodiazepines are Valium, Xanax, Halcion, Ativan and Klonopin. Shorter-acting benzodiazepines are also used to manage insomnia. These medicines are sold under different brand names in different parts of the world and are widely used, including by pregnant women. As per the Center for Disease Control, 15% of pregnant women in the United States experience anxiety. Outside the United States too, the number is likely to be more or less the same. Now the CDC says that 1% of these women use benzodiazepines to treat their anxiety. While this is a small percentage, the Taiwanese study shows that the impact of this drug on a fetus is huge. What's more, this study also found a slightly increased risk of birth defects post the use of benzodiazepines. So what should pregnant women do? For starters, not take over-the-counter drugs. Consult the doctor and only take prescribed pregnancy-safe medicines. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Time now for our special segment, Gravitas Snapshot. Tonight, we talk about Francoise Bettencourt Meyers, the first woman to amass a $100 billion fortune. I repeat, $100 billion. Who is this lady? What's her story? And how did she make so much money? Let's find out. To start with, she is a French businesswoman, philanthropist, writer, billionaire heiress. She is the only child of Liliane Bettencourt and the granddaughter of Eugene Schuller, the founder of L'Oreal. She became the reigning heiress of L'Oreal after her mother died in 2017. Today, Bettencourt Meyers is the vice chairperson of the company's board. She and her family are the single biggest shareholders of L'Oreal with a stake of around 35%. On Thursday, Meyers' wealth jumped to $100 billion. How? The milestone came as shares of L'Oreal rose to a record high, with the stock set for its best year since 1998. Now, for the unversed, L'Oreal is the world's largest cosmetics company. It owns a wide portfolio of brands from Lancôme to Maybelline and had more than $42 billion in sales in 2022, according to company reports. That's not all. Earlier this year, L'Oreal also bought Australian brand Aesop in a $2.5 billion deal. This was the biggest brand acquisition ever made by the French beauty giant. Its previous record was its $1.7 billion purchase of YSL Beauty in 2008. This has all happened under the leadership of Bettencourt Meyers. But she's also a controversial figure. You see, she was involved in a public fight with her mother during her later years. She had accused the photographer and socialite of taking advantage of her mother's mental frailty and trying to exploit her wealth. So much so that in 2011, a French court ruled that her mother had a form of dementia and awarded Francoise control over her wealth and income. Another family member was tasked to look after her mother's health and physical well-being. If I speak of her personal life, Bettencourt Meyers is set to favor privacy over attending social events frequented by many of the world's wealthy. She is known to play the piano for several hours a day and has written 2 books, a 5-volume study of the Bible and also a genealogy of the Greek gods. A friend who authored a book on her life says she really lives inside her own cocoon, which isn't too bad when you happen to be the 12th richest person in the world. In a resounding endorsement of India's economic prospects, global investors have propelled foreign portfolio inflows into Indian stocks to remarkable heights. December witnessed an influx of $6.92 billion, marking the second highest level ever and affirming India's allure amid global uncertainties. The country's benchmark indices, Nifty 50 and Sensex, have both breached lifetime highs, and the rally in Indian markets has been supported by the mid-cap and small-cap segments as well. This surge coincided with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party winning the elections in key states ahead of a general election in 2024. For now, markets are betting on Prime Minister Modi to return to power in 2024 and continuing the policies that include pushing for digital innovation, infrastructure spending and attracting investors. The U.S. Federal Reserve's indication of a shift towards rate cuts in the coming year further fueled the rally, with experts highlighting the positive impact on investor sentiment. Experts also attribute the resumption of foreign institutional investor flows in 2023 to the anticipation of a halt and subsequent decline in interest rates globally. As the U.S. Federal Reserve takes a pause and the dollar index weakens, capital flows are anticipated into emerging markets, with India at the forefront. In 2023, foreign investors have poured a staggering $19.57 billion into Indian equities, marking the second highest level ever recorded. The surge in foreign inflows has been particularly pronounced in December, outpacing other emerging markets and propelling Indian stock benchmarks. The financial services sector emerged as a key focus for foreign investors, suggesting that investors have confidence in the country's economic potential. Additionally, sectors such as autos, capital goods, telecom have also attracted significant overseas investment. Global investment advisory firms foresee a continued positive trajectory in 2024 with expectations of further declines in US interest rates. The global investment community's robust endorsement of Indian equities underscoring the country's status as a premier investment destination. As the world looks for promising opportunities, India stands out as a beacon of economic resilience and growth, drawing substantial capital inflows and solidifying its position as the preferred choice for global investors. We now move on to a major development coming in from Nepal. The government has revealed critical details about the Pokhara plane crash. A committee formed to investigate the air crash has come out with its report. Our next story explores what led to that accident.
At the start of this year, on 15th January, the Yeti airplane's plane crash in Nepal claimed 72 lives. As the year ends, the investigation into the incident has also wrapped up. A detailed investigation report reveals the critical errors that led to this tragic event. The ATR-72 was operating a half-hour journey from Kathmandu to Pokhara. On board the twin-engine propeller aircraft were 68 passengers. There were 4 crew members as well. The aircraft was in good technical condition. The weather conditions were normal too. Nepali authorities' investigative report highlights a fatal mistake made during the landing. The plane was below 721 feet. The pilot, instead of adjusting the wing flaps, mistakenly changed the propeller angle. This led to the plane losing momentum and falling. One pilot reportedly requested a wing flap adjustment. His co-pilot mistakenly moved a different set of levers that caused instability. The lethal mistake led to air passing through the propellers. The plane lost thrust force, stalled and crashed. It burned when it hit the ground. Simply put, the crash was due to human error. But apart from the pilot's lapse in judgment, the investigation pointed out many other contributing factors. The airport in Pokhara was only weeks old back then. The crew had not received specific training for its runways. One of the pilots was attempting his first landing there. Even the co-pilot was only there for the 3rd time. To add to this mess was the last-minute decision to switch runways. The Pokhara plane crash sheds light on a few key things. The importance of following aviation safety standards for one, maintaining awareness under stressful conditions too. And most importantly, it is a reminder of the urgent need to address problems in Nepal's civil aviation. Reports say that as many as 900 people have lost their lives in aviation disasters in Nepal. Apart from human error, environmental factors have also posed risks. Nepal's topography poses unique challenges for aviation. The terrain is mountainous and the weather often unpredictable and harsh. Poor visibility and aging aircraft add more danger to the hazardous mix. In a country that relies heavily on air travel to connect remote regions, a frequent rate of accidents is a big concern. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Our next story is about chips. No, not the semiconductor chips that have been making news all through the year, but about chips that are a quintessential part of all parties, movie marathon sessions, or just junk food binging. Yes, those chips. They come in fancy packets and fulfill your cravings or make for a snack. What kind of chips are you into? Salted, spicy sweet, or extra spicy? Have you heard of flamin' hot Doritos? Yes, that's what they are called because, well, they are super spicy. In fact, their spiciness is what they are known for. Their packets invite you to ignite your taste buds. They are in the news because of the seasoning that is used to make them. Let me break it down for you. The story comes from Australia. Allegations have been made by the United Workers' Union. It has sent a report to the workplace regulator. It has alleged that employees working at a factory of the firm Smith's Snack Food Company raised concerns regarding the improper handling of strongly irritating substances. The report has been put out on Safe Work's website, and this is what it says. After interviewing 13 workers from the afternoon shift, 11 reported various effects, including sneezing, coughing, eye and skin irritation, runny nose, sore throat, chest discomfort, and difficulty breathing. Let me repeat that for you. These workers claim to have experienced coughing, skin irritation, and breathing issues. Smith's markets the Flamin' Hot branded Doritos. It has been alleged by the union that the company did not have in place safe systems of work. And as per reports, Smith's is putting in place extra fans in the Adelaide factory, where some workers have claimed to be experiencing skin and eye irritation because of the seasoning. Reports say a spokesperson for PepsiCo, the company that owns Smith's Snack Food, has said that they follow a number of safety procedures and protocols when producing products that include spicy seasoning, going on to say that to further enhance these measures at the Adelaide site, there is mandatory mask wearing during production of this product, and that they are installing additional extraction fans, stressing on how they are committed towards ensuring the safety of the workers. Meanwhile, SafeWork is considering the union's complaint in order to figure out whether it warranted further action. This is what a spokesperson for the workplace regulator has said, that they will be monitoring the developments. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. We're leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.
لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا.
The countdown for 2024 has begun. A new year brings new goals, new dreams, and new ways to achieve them. Gravitas will be with you every step of the way, elevating news to knowledge so that you can convert hopes into reality, helping you navigate complex geopolitical twists and turns in a year of conflict, through the harsh tragedies of war and the momentous battles of elections that change the meaning of power. We also have a little surprise for you, a special show with your favorite stories from the year that was. Our New Year gift to you. Watch the best of Gravitas at these times on WION World is One.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
Hostilities have broken out between Israel and Palestine, and the tensions that had been gathering steam over the course of the last several weeks and months.
The siren has gone off. I don't know if you can hear in the background what's going on. I'm going into the shelter now. So it's a very, very serious situation here across Israel. It's a state of emergency.
The United States stands with Israel.
Well, we are starting this broadcast with a developing story from West Asia, where Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says Hamas has launched a war against the state of Israel.
It's easy to tell you a flat story. It's easy to show you what's happening around the world. We do the difficult part.
This weapon has been banned, but the US, Ukraine and Russia do not find the bombs problematic.
We also tell you why what's happening.
A new drug is making a difference in the fight against Alzheimer's. This medicine helps slow down a patient's cognitive decline.
We look beyond the text. We give you context.
Is China preparing for a war in the Himalayas? And tonight, we come to you with some proof.
Hypocrisy is stunning.
Do leaders mean what they say? Do they ever say what they mean? To find out how real news affects you, your decisions.
Just when Iran took one step in the right direction, its moral police is planning to drag it further back. And once again, the victim will be women.
Watch Gravitas. We don't impose our views.
Did India threaten to ban Twitter? Either that or Jack Dorsey is lying to you.
That is Gravitas. We let life breathe through our show. Gravitas, the informed show for an intelligent audience.
Hello, welcome to This World. Vladimir Amelyan joins us from Kiev, and he is currently on the front line fighting Russian troops.
We believe that the world should be ruled by democracies.
I was interviewing you on television a couple of weeks back.
That's right.
And you said, if you really want to understand Jerusalem, why don't you come here and see it?
And you came.
Here I am. Mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. Why this cannot be fixed?
There are 425 million guns in the United States, which is more than the population.
The problem here is Trump has been able to make the argument that this is a political prosecution and that he's being singled out unfairly.
Defend our nation. You are saying we could have a cure for cancer.
We'll have treatments for many cancers in this decade, and they're going to come from India.
Downside is that it could potentially wipe us out. But let's start with the upside first.
The upsides are absolutely enormous. The potential uses of this are almost unlimited.
I only discovered AutoGPTs about a week ago and started writing about them. And after I started writing about them, Jeff Bezos followed me on Twitter, and all kinds of crazy amounts of people have been contacting us.
The show where we get you the week's biggest stories from around this world. What is the India story? It's the story of the world's biggest democracy.
We are developing the road infrastructure. In the end of 24, it will be equivalent to the road infrastructure of USA.
We have now entered the growth phase. And I believe that the growth rate in India is going to be exponential.
Two narratives of Indian story which need to be brought center stage.
Every week, the India story will bring the most incisive analysis, the most authoritative voices.
India will be a significant pole in the universe of AI going forward.
India is walking tall, India's stature is different, India's voice is being heard.
And the biggest newsmakers.
This is just a start. Tokyo, we won one bronze. Paris, we're gonna rock it.
Good to see that, women cricket is getting more excited and everybody is looking after that.
And these stories need to be told, and they are guided by the compass of their conscience.
From India, for the world, the India story. The show for the global citizen.
how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert.
You have ignored us in the past and you will ignore us again. We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time.
Show us your faithfulness. Show us your trustworthiness. Show us your honesty. Prove us wrong. We desperately need you to prove us wrong. God help us all. If you fail to prove us wrong, God help us.
What happens in the world and its nations?
South Africa.
In Samarkand, Uzbekistan.
From New York for WION.
Creates ripples across oceans.
As things appear to be quite tense given that the protesters are just not backing down.
The federal government employees have been protesting.
So follow the news source where facts run the show. Because you are more connected than you know. Download the WION app to find out how.
Stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.
Tragedies of war and the momentous battles of elections that change the meaning of power. We also have a little surprise for you, a special show with your favorite stories from the year that was. Our New Year gift to you. Watch the best of Gravitas at these times on WION World is One.
Vielleicht nur als